Just a moment. The Stock 1000s line up for the MotoAmerica Superbikes at Barber. We're at Barber Motorsports Park, about 20 minutes outside of Birmingham, Alabama. And it's been raining pretty much all morning. I don't see it raining right now. I'm looking out our window, but it's been, even when we couldn't see it through our window, it's been drizzling today. We expect wet weather throughout the day. They said scattered thunderstorms. That's exactly what we've been seeing so far this morning. Started off with a light mist, then it came a full-on frog strangler. I'm Robbie Floyd with Roger. Hayden, you like that frog strangler?
Yeah, I like
That's
it.
Exactly what it was, because, I mean, you needed a snorkel to get through some of this track.
Yeah, this morning rained really heavy, so we had a lot of puddles. We were delayed a little bit, but now the track's looking pretty good.
As far as these riders are going to have to change things up, they're going to have to change their racing lines, their attitude, and how they approach this race.
Yeah, just got to be a little bit more smooth on the bike. A lot of guys went out this morning, so they get to see the track. And some of the corners to look for, the last corner, the museum corner, those are the ones that say the guys are going to be a little cautious in. We see some accidents there this morning.
I've been told that they've reduced it to 11 laps. It is now being declared a wet race. Take a look at this track here at Barber Motorsports Park. 10 and 7, that's the amount of turns are going to go around from left to right. But it's going to be a wet one, but there are several places to make passes, especially in the rain.
Yeah, turn one for sure on the brakes, but it kind of goes downhill through there. And also the track goes down, then turn 4 comes back up into 5. We see a lot of passes into there, but it's hard to get it stopped as it goes downhill. Get a good round out of 7, maybe make a pass into the museum corner. Turn 8 and 9, seeing a couple accidents there this morning. Then through the fast chicane into 12, goes down and it G's out through there, back up over 13, and then the long right-hander. If somebody goes wide there, you can sneak up the inside into 17. Last corner onto the front straightaway. Another one's going to be interesting to watch this race. It's turn 17.
Yeah, it's been kind of sketchy time, especially out of that final turn. But, I mean, there's several corners here that you might not think are passing zones that when it's rained like it has and it's wet like it is, they are now passing zones, right?
Yeah, in the wet it can change because you might have more speed than somebody else or more comfortable, so you can make a pass pretty much anywhere.
Well, you see the riders on the grid getting ready to line up for the first race. The Stock 1000s as a whole, this class, 45 riders, I believe, signed up for this class. There's Jake Lewis. He's already the 2021 champion. He's on there on that starting line, ready to take another victory on the Altus Motorsport Suzuki. He did just what his counterpart did last year in Cam Peterson, taking that Stock 1000 title for Altus Motorsports. And Hanalopa caught up with him earlier this week and talked to the 2021 champ.
Last round, we saw Jake Lewis capture a career-first Stock 1000 championship. Jake, at the beginning of this season, after having missed out on last season, did you ever think that you would be crowned champion?
Honestly, yes, that was my whole goal this season because watching at home last year on the couch, I knew the guys in the stock class, just from years past, I'd raced against them, and I knew I had the talent to win the championship and get race wins, and that's why I kept in touch with George even last year sitting on the couch because I wanted an opportunity to show what I had, and with them winning the championship last year, it's great for the team to go back-to-back and kind of shows the characteristic of the Suzuki 1000. It's a great bike, and glad we were able to get it done this year, especially around early as well. We had a DNF about midway through the season that kind of made the points close again, and luckily I was able to stretch it back out and win at the last round and come in here to Barber at one of my home tracks. I have a lot of family and friends coming, so it's a lot less pressure this weekend, just going to have some fun.
Now, there is still one championship title for you up for grabs. That's the Superbike Cup. You're currently the points leader for that. How do you anticipate this weekend will play out with the 3 Superbike races?
For me, it's just kind of having fun. I have a big lead, and I think it's like 70 points. So it's like the other guy, Travis, would need to win all 3 races, and I think I would have to crash out or something. So there's no pressure. Go out there and do the best I can like I've done all year and try to be the first stock guy. And never know what the weather's going to do this weekend. It's looking like it could rain. So we haven't rode in the rain since 2018, so it'll make things interesting. Keep it on 2 wheels, end the season good, and just have fun mainly.
Now, looking ahead to next season, is there any talk of any plans, or what is your hope?
Obviously, as a rider, everyone wants to fight for a Superbike championship, and that's everyone's goal. But, the Superbike seats are super limited, and I don't really know, honestly. Obviously it's silly season, and after this round, everyone will be talking about for next year. And I'm happy with where I'm at with the Altus guys. We've already talked about next season, and they would love to have me back to try to make it 3 stock titles for the team. But this time will tell, and hopefully, you know, I'll be back in the paddock for sure.
Well, best of luck out there this weekend, and congrats on your Stock 1000 championship. Jake Lewis, everyone.
And Jake with 5 victories, trying to get 6 here today. That would be equal to the rest of the field combined. And Roger, I mean, you know him very well. He was your roommate, or did he just mooch off living with you for a couple of years? But you know Jake very well. He started off the year, I think, kind of slow, and with the way that I expected him. He started off with a couple of fourths, but I think that actually was good for Jake because he kind of got the feels again. And then after that, we never saw him outside the top 3.
Well, he set out a whole year, so it's going to take a couple races to get your rhythm and get in the flow. And once he got it about mid-season, he went on a heck of a run, winning Stock 1000 races, winning a lot of Superbike Cup races as well, all in a row. So once he got going, a new team, they got to working well together. Once they got going, they were hard to beat. And
remember that race. It was VIR. It was only our 3rd race of the year. He went from fourth to first, and you could see once he got that taste, once he got that taste again, he was going to be a tough one to beat. Oh, we got some K9 fans out here, too, in MotoAmerica. He's like, look, see, there you are. Got their adult beverages and a little cooler there, ready to go. That's a good time. That's what it's about, Roger.
Especially at this track, so many advantage points for the fans, can see a lot of action. So good track to come to for a fan.
Do see some dark clouds coming in again from the west, dipping down a little bit lower. So these guys are on wet tires. It is going to be declared, or it is declared, a wet race. Let's go down to, look at that guy down there, Jason Wygant, getting away from the dirt, and he brings the rain to road racing.
Not right now. Actually, we're pretty lucky at the moment. No rain, absolutely, but it is a wet race, as you mentioned, so we'll see how that turns out. As I mentioned earlier, though, everybody seems to be super positive. If you ask anyone on the line here, they all say they love the rain. They've had great performances in the past in the rain. What it really comes down to is who is smooth. So I talked to Michael Gilbert, for example, who won the opening race of the series. He said, if there's one thing about my riding style that I like, it's how smooth I tend to be on the bike. That should lend itself to a good performance in the rain. Also the same thing with Corey Alexander on the 23. The smoothness helps. As for Jake Lewis, who you're looking at here in the 85, he said, the good news for me, I already wrapped up the title.
That's exactly true. And looking at some of those guys in front, Jake Lewis, Ashton Yates, Corey Alexander, tall riders, lanky riders. They could use some of that weight to move around and kind of hang it off the bike and keep the bike more upright. I think that this could be a good battle to the finish. And
that's one reason why you want to wrap up the championship so early, as early as possible. You wouldn't want to come into this race this weekend with the track conditions to trying to win a title. Would be a lot more stress. And also, I don't see Jeff May on the grid, and also he wasn't out in the warm-up this morning, so not sure if he's going to be racing or not.
And he was scheduled to start in 5th, which would put him on the middle of that 2nd row. I'm not sure what happened there. And they cleared, no, that spot is still there. So, yeah, missing the rider in the middle of the big wheelie. Well, no problems with traction there for Corey Alexander. Bike looking different than it did a week ago. He had that tribute bike, like an Engine 23, representing the New York Fire Department. And that bike got trashed and thrashed at New Jersey Motorsports Park. He's trying to get that New Jersey taste out of his mouth.
You can see the track getting a dry line there coming out of turn 3 in some spots. So when the guys have the rain tires and there's drying in some spots, they'll be searching for puddles because the rain tires are so soft they can overheat quick, and they try to hit all the puddles to cool the tire down.
You can see the same thing there entering that turn, the color difference, but again, rain is in the forecast. But this also might open the door for classes later on today, having the opportunity, if it does keep drying out, that they're going to have to make a decision. Do they go to the rain tire or will they go to the slicks? These guys, slicks, no doubt, but they have to find that water, as you mentioned, to keep the tires cool.
And as the race goes on, I think tire wear might come into play with this, with the track drying the way it is, because it's going to dry out as the race goes on. With all these bikes, it's going to dry out pretty quick.
And for the fans at home, these are groove tires. They are, rain tires, but they have a softer compound. And as you said, if they do get hot, they go away. I mean, they only last so long. And it's not like you have a full rain, an intermediate, slick. It's one or the other.
And it looks like everybody's on the full wets. So there's a lot of puddles you'd have to be, but you got to be careful in some of these. You see where the streams are. If you really get the tires hot, you're going to try to cool them off as much as possible.
11-lap race. It's going to be interesting. What's going to happen our first race of the day, because if practice has been any indication, we've seen several riders go down throughout the field. And when you look at this field, 45 riders were scheduled to race today.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of, just seems like it was just 2 corners this morning that really caught everybody out, the museum corner and the last corner, and it's those corners that get some banking as the track goes away, guys get on the throttle, and the rear end's been coming around.
There's the clouds to the west that I was talking about, and that's the direction it came from yesterday, and I believe actually this morning as well. That red flag, they're waiting for the field to get lined up perfectly. Michael Gilbert, the stash, having some issues this morning as well, going through the starting sequence there for Jake Lewis. Likes that Altus Motorsports Suzuki. We know that bike's fast. We're going to get to see him again in the Honda Superbike class, but again, he's already wrapped up that championship. This could be the fun race. You could throw it all out there.
Also, it's an opportunity for some of these Stock 1000 guys to get to see the track before the Superbike race today.
That's absolutely true. Haven't seen much of Travis Wyman on that red bike, the Motul number 10 BMW. Will Wyman get a good start? That bike's fast. Again, they're not going to use all the horsepower. It's slippery out there. When the lights go out, it's time to go racing. Heading into that tight first turn or a sweeping left-hand turn, but it is downhill. This is where you start going, do I have the grip necessary?
Jake Lewis caught Danilo Lewis.
And he did not. I mean, he straight-lined it, and that was a good save out of him, but there was no way he was making that turn. Now he's got to get through the gravel, and he's going to get a little push, and somebody else is down, and that's Hunter Dunham.
Looks like in turn 2.
So he made the left, but couldn't get further out of that right, and if he stays down for a while, it's beyond our vantage point. That might bring out the red flag on the first lap.
Michael Gilbert, that crash this morning in the warm-up doesn't look like it's slowed him down very much. He's already worked his way up into second.
Now into the slippery section, and each one of the classes, somebody's went down into this turn. It's typically blind, it's typically fast, but right here when they get back on the throttle, that back end's been coming out from under them. The first guys did really well.
You can see how cautious Jake was through there, kind of lifting up the bike as he went down in there.
No doubt about it. I mean, they're paying attention. They're watching the other classes practice and qualifying, and they know that there's issues with certain parts of the track. Whoa, big high side.
Andrew Lee.
The 2-time Stock 1000 champion is off. And that was probably the case for that back end wanting to come around. Some guys have been able to save it. Andrew definitely didn't have that happen. And there it is, the museum turn.
That's someone else.
Yep, I'm saying it caught another rider.
We've seen a couple guys, too, same thing through that chicane. When they go left and when they flick it right, the rear comes around.
That was Scott Brody out of New York, Innovative Motorsports entry. Just after that, going the chicane over at 10. Should have been where Andrew Lee got chucked. So the stash hanging on. He's not too far behind. The stash I called Michael Gilbert because he's got that fine mustache. I can't call him Gibby. He doesn't like it. So he is the stash in my book. And he is very fast. It looks like he's very comfortable in wet conditions. I know he does a lot of work, a lot of training with Jason Pridmore. The JP team probably gave him some insight coming into this race. And he really hasn't been his typical, Gilbert self lately. He has not looked fast, has not been comfortable. He looks like he's comfortable in the race.
Yeah, he looks real comfortable so far in this race. Also, Danny Eslick worked his way up in the 4th already. And
Danny's a guy well-versed at mini bikes. I think the experience riding different types of machine, coming from American Flat Track, doing the road racing. We've seen him here before, but this isn't his day job. But he's coming out here and show you that he's talented on the 2 wheels. 3rd place, Ashton Yates. And there you go. There's Eslick, the 34, back in 4th, but worked his way up to that position. And some of the guys that are out in front actually got to qualify and ride with the Honda Superbike in the Superbike Cup. Eslick was out there with the Stock 1000s. We really don't know how he's going to fare among the other guys yet. Jason Wygant, you have more. Danny probably better than anybody.
Yeah, I do, definitely from covering American Flat Track. The funny thing is, this team had Andrew Lee on the bike earlier in the year. They parted ways. They've had a couple different riders on the bike. They were going to have Danny race at Laguna Seca with them, but Jason Farrell, who was a crew chief on the team, but is also a heck of a racer, said it was always on his bucket list to race Laguna. So they called Danny and said, hey, do you mind if we let Jason Farrell race this one? We owe you one. We'll let you race somewhere else down the line. And Danny, I don't think, expected them to actually call themselves on that, but they called him last week and said, we still owe you a race. You want to come to Barber? So here we are.
Now he's trying to put it up there on the podium, currently 4th. The time around, he was about a 1.5 seconds off of Ashton Yates. again, we're only on lap number 311 of 11. You can see how gingerly these guys are riding as we take a look back up to the front. The Altus Motorsports Suzuki of Jake Lewis. The times are turning to 1:43. When you look at their qualifying efforts, they were a minute 26 for Jeff May in the stock 1000. We still don't know why Jeff May isn't out there.
You can see the first part of the track seems a lot drier than the last part.
As we look out towards that track, that would be more of the left side, the right side. Some ups and downs and holding a little bit more water as well, but that seems to be where the water or the rain comes from that western side each time. You know, I like what Michael Gilbert's doing, just sitting there watching the lines of Jake. Jake doesn't really know what's going on behind him. I think Gibby's in a great position here.
Yeah, follow Jake for a couple laps, and if there's a mistake, he can capitalize on it. I think if he had a lot more speed than Jake, he would probably try to make the pass and get the break, but right now he can be patient with the track conditions the way they are. Still a lot of laps left in this race.
And if he feels like he can run it in there, maybe he waits towards the end, not to give Jake time to retaliate. We saw Jake do that, this year. Wait till the end, make that pass, and now we see that run to the inside. A little bit of a tester there.
Yeah, you could tell there's a couple different lines in that turn 15, 16 area. The fast line is drifting up a little bit, but that opens the door on the inside for a guy to make the pass.
Telling him that he has 8 more to go. We're on lap number 4 of 11. That would be 7 to go, but I'm not good with math.
That last lap, Eslick was a couple tenths faster than Ashton Yates, so got it making a little charge here for the podium.
There's Ashton Yates back in third, and Eslick starting to close in. Again, I said it was a little over a second and a half. He's down to 1.2 the last time across the stripe. Ashton Yates still looking for that first victory. Right now, he's trying to hold on to third. He's got 4 podium finishes this year, but again, he's been very close to winning a race, and anything can happen. We're still early, not even at the halfway point now.
And Ashton at New Jersey led that race all the way to the last lap. Has to be a little disappointed in that, but he rode such a good race, deserves a win. And he's had almost a breakout year on the 1000. This is the most consistent we've seen him in a while.
So a couple of things to look for is, Roger, and you pointed it out early, the track is starting to dry out. Some areas a little better than others. How long will these Dunlop rain tires last unless you find some of that water to keep it cool if it does dry out? But when they're coming down those straightaways, you can see the water being pushed out to the side. They're okay right now.
Also, with the straightaways being wet, it's going to help too, because the middle of the tire is one that can chunk out pretty quick. But right now, it's still pretty wet on the second part of the track. You just got to be careful that first part where the track's drying out.
Don't burn it up early on or the left side of the track. Try and find those wetter areas. The Honda 34
Essex
goes down.
crashed.
That was Eslick. And where was that in the last?
Turn 16.
Yeah, one of the last turns. After that sweeping right, heading to that final left and coming down to the front straightaway. There goes the 37 of Stefano Mesa on the Aprilia. Doing basically a testing session. Let's see what happens. There's Yates. We should see Eslick just behind on the left. And yeah, that was on
exit of 16.
Exit of 16. There's the final turn coming up after that. The bike looks to be in okay shape. So he went from a battle for third to dropping back to 9th. How far up can he move it again, assuming that nothing is bent on the bike?
Jake Lewis just getting quicker every lap. Now he's kind of stretched out to second lead.
You see a couple guys with purple sectors. So Michael Gilbert has the fastest in sector 1 overall. Sector 4, you have Travis Wyman, who's sitting now in 4th on the BMW, the Moto BMW. He has an overall fastest sector, but you don't even see Wyman in that picture. Now he sneaks in there as he closes in or tries to close in on Ashton Yates. So you hear how smooth he is on that throttle. And that goes both ways too, because on and off the throttle, they control it on the engine braking as well here too, because an abrupt off might do you damage.
Well, a lot of times what I would do in the wet, I'd really wait a minute before I back shifted, so the RPMs would come down a little bit, so I would have less engine braking. Just everything has to be a little bit more smoother. Your back shifting, braking, throttle, everything, you just have to be a little bit more smoother when it's wet like this.
Last time around, Michael Gilbert lost 0.3 of a second. Looks like he's starting to get dropped just a bit by Jake Lewis. Or is Jake Lewis just feeling more comfortable? You can see right there a little bit of a dry line starting to develop more and more. Now he's pushing it, even going down into 5, that downhill. If he thought it was sketchy, he would not have been doing that quite that hard. But on exit, it is different. And now more problems. I think that's Manuel Segura on the BMW. I knew it was a BMW with it being red. Now I just want to make sure it wasn't Wyman, and that's not, but that is Segura. And we're just past that halfway point in this, and he's going to be dropping back, and it seemed like he was right around the top 10.
Jake's just getting quicker every lap, throwing up some purple sectors, and that's going to happen as the track dries out as well. And also for him, talking about he hasn't rode in the rain in a couple years, so it's going to take a minute to figure out how to get around here when the track's this wet.
I think getting more comfortable and looking at Travis Wyman now in 4th. I think he definitely closed in on Ashton Yates. Let's go down to Jason real quick.
Talking to all these riders before the event, I mentioned how they're all pretty positive, and that included Travis Wyman. He says he loves the rain, but then he added, but I'm super nervous. So I think it took a few laps to get comfortable here, and we're starting to see the pace come around. But you mentioned Segura also on a red bike. It just had that crash. Well, I was standing next to Wyman's crew, and they were afraid when they were watching the screen, the same thing you guys were, that it was their man down. But it was not. And here's a sense of relief as he actually goes by that motorcycle. So they have a sense of relief, and I think you can tell that Wyman is starting to feel it after being a little nervous before this race began.
Yeah, and he gained a 10th right there as well. Thank you, Jason. Closing in ever so slightly on Ashton Yates, but he's still like 2 seconds behind Yates for that final spot on the podium. But some of the speeds, you're talking about how Jake looked more comfortable. He's kind of pushing it. When I look at his speed, last time around across the trap, he was 11 miles an hour faster than Michael Gilbert at the trap speed. That's showing comfortability. He was 132 this last time around. The lap before, he came down that straight at 137 miles an hour.
And also where the speed trap is sometimes it's on the brakes. So when it's wet, maybe Jake's braking a little bit deeper than Michael Gilbert, and that's why it might look like it's such a big speed difference.
So 5 laps to go for the Altus Motorsports entry. Jake Lewis, the champion for this year, already been crowned, clinched it before he made it to the final stop here in Barber. This is the last race for the Stock 1000s. They have a Superbike Cup he'll be competing in less than 2 hours time, so he'll be having to re-rack and restack. There's only one race for the Stock 1000s because Twins Cup will race tomorrow. Basically, they flop back and forth on double race weekends, but it came down here. We had one for each, and again, this would have been a 5-race weekend if they would have doubled up, including the Superbike, because Superbike has 3 races this weekend. You still see that one patch of water running right across the track. We've seen that at other tracks in years past where that caused havoc, but it's really not causing these guys any problem. That's a good drainage, but also good tarmac.
And I was telling you earlier, this riding in the wet is less physical. It's a little bit less work, but it's almost more mentally draining because you have to remember where all the patches are, what corners are dry, which corners have rivers coming across it. So there's a lot to take on. You got to be smoother, and you might not be physically as tired at the end of the race, but mentally you're pretty wore out.
Jake Lewis said he liked the relationship he has with Altus Motorsports. He stayed in contact with them. He's given them everything that they could ask for. Just like I said last year with Cam Peterson, I said, I think Cam Peterson gave Altus Motorsports more bang for the buck than almost any team out there. Almost like a Jake Gagne would be doing for the Fresh and Lean Attack Performance Yamaha for the Superbikes. Jake is trying to win 4 in a row. I mean, once he got on that roll, he just kept going. And here at the end of the year, he seems almost unbeatable.
Yeah, it just seems like kind of the class of the field toward the end of the year. And for him to get the championship wrapped up early, and like every rider in the class, he wants to go back to Superbike one day and winning these races and try to open a door for him to get back in. Superbike is his goal, and luckily for him, Altus Motorsports gave him an opportunity this year to come back and show that the speed that Jake has.
Michael Gilbert started the year on that 55 Kawasaki with a victory at Road Atlanta. That was a long, long time ago. He's got 4 podiums this year. But he hails out of Tustin, California. But Chuck Walla Raceway is one of his sponsors, Octane Lending. The guy puts the work in week out, and it's good to see him back up there where he belongs. If he can hang on to this second place, it'll be his 5th podium, but really he was in contention.
And Travis Wyman's now within a second of Ashton Yates, so this podium battle might heat up here these last couple laps.
And that is the race for third, down to 9/10 of a second with 3 laps to go. But as you said, race in, race out, that's that carrot that's dangling out in front. That's the rabbit. He sees him now. He's just going to reel him in from here.
And also lap traffic is going to come play in effect. So some of the track is dry. You know, the rider you're lapping, he might be on the dry line.
Oh, look at that right there. There's a perfect example. Get hung out to that outside, and he thought he was going to get in a little bit further, a little earlier, and be able to drive around the out, but that didn't happen. He's still got a little time. Don't get too carried away, but you can see he's just basing everything off of Ashton Yates just in front. His eyes are focused on that 22.
Yeah, just whenever Ashton breaks, looks like he's just breaking waiting just a little bit later.
No doubt, no doubt. And right now, he knows this is a great opportunity. He's like, okay, what's he going to do? Oh, look, he got caught up in this turn. I can really close in here.
But he's going to need to make sure he gets a really good run because he does not want to follow this lapper through this next section because Ashton's really a pull away.
Yeah, that BMW's fast, though. Both of those bikes are really, really fast in stock trim, but that was a good scenario for Travis Wyman. Again, Wyman also with 2 victories this year and 5 podiums. He's trying to get that 6th podium here. He just needs 1 more spot.
He's there.
Yep. Lewis, Gilbert, Yates, and Wyman. Those are your top 4. They got P5. What am I showing in P5? Am I missing something? They trying to give us some funky signals. How would you read that, Roger?
Well, I think he probably knows where he's at. You know, he sees P5, but he's got to know. He's got to know where he's at.
Are they doing it just to make him mad? You know, going, come on now, you're in 5th place. You know, I don't know what was up there because that's their only communication. If you're new to MotoAmerica, they don't have any inter-ear communication like a NASCAR racer or IndyCar. They have to get all of their info either from the data logger that's on their bike or from that pit wall. So they're seeing the differential from the rider that's behind them, the place that they're in, how many laps are left, and they're throwing some fuzzy logic out there for Travis Wyman because P5 usually means I'm in 5th place. Going to that museum turn. This could be a good opportunity as well. That chicane's going to get sketchy, though, if they both catch up to that lapped rider. Jason Wygan, our man on the mission down there. What did that board mean, Jace?
They're tracking Corey Alexander's position for points in the series. Travis, they know he knows where he is. They just want him to know where the rider he's battling in the series is.
There you go. So that, again, that's the only communication they have. So it's almost like, you know, when you listen to F1, you hear them talk about, all right, what strategy they're going off of. Their strategy is, I need to have eyes in the back of my head.
And also for the, you know, the reason they do that is for the championship.
Yeah, he was only 3 points behind in the championship behind Corey Alexander. Corey Alexander is the place that's just behind him. So the difference between 4th in points and 5th in points is 2. He would be out just by 1 as it stands now.
But
he needs that
making the
spot.
pass.
He needs that spot. And that could be the championship for him. Not the championship, but a move up in the championship to 2nd. So 3 points coming in. Now Travis Wyman into 3rd. That would give him 16 points. And Corey Alexander in 5th would get 11.
Look at Ashton, though. He's not giving up on it yet.
And Ashton knows where they're at, too. Ashton Yates was 10 points behind Gilbert coming in. This is a race to the finish. Look at him standing him up a little bit. It's the last lap in stock 1000. Jake Lewis has a 3.5-second lead over Michael Gilbert. They are gone. Here's the race for 3rd place and also 2nd in the championship. Alexander is not going to catch these two. If Travis Wyman can stay in front of Ashton Yates, he's going to take 2nd in this championship. He pulled him by a little bit.
You can just see how much the track is drying in a lot of these corners.
Some of the later racers are probably thinking about it. Then they got to, you know, realize, is this going to be a wet race or is it going to be a slick tire race? Ooh.
Ashton's still there.
Yes, and he's pushing. He's going to try and dive underneath. Not there, but he's saying, hey, I'm knocking on the door. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere.
Travis cannot go through this right-hander. He's going to have to hug the bottom of the track and not leave the door open for Ashton.
Ashton get a good drive right there. Look at that, look at that. He did. He opened the door, but just enough that he closed it again.
Uh-oh.
Taking the victory, it's going to be Jake Lewis. Ashton Yates goes to the inside. Wyman goes to close it off. Taking the drive, a victory for Lewis. That's going to be his 6th on the year. And the race to the end, Yates is trying to squeeze more out of that Honda. Not going to happen. He's frustrated. But what a run by Wyman. Look at this on the last lap. Travis Wyman, the fastest lap of the race, a 1:41.27, and he needed it all, Raj.
At Ashton Yates, last lap, 2:41.5. That's the 2nd quickest lap of the race.
Oh, man, that is what a run for all of those riders, and keeping it on 2 wheels in wet, rainy conditions. And we questioned how they would keep those Dunlops going for the whole time. It stayed just wet enough. Some celebration wheelies for Lewis, his 6th win on the year. See his personal best lap back in lap number 5. But consistency wins you the championship. Consistency wins you the race, Raj.
What a way to end the season. You know, with another win in the wet, shows you can ride in any condition.
And it also gives you a little more energy when you know you run the Superbike Cup a little bit later, right? I mean, you know what to do if it is raining. And it is getting darker out to the west. We know it's drying now, but it's looking uglier. Like it might not stay this way for long.
Well, if the track conditions are like this for any of the Superbike races, he's going to know what to expect.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's giving him everything. He knows I'm fast. I know where to go fast. I know where it was slippery, where I need to back off. I have that feel. Now, everybody had their time in qualifying with the wet setup. Not much time, but he had a much better time in a race type condition. And again, the Honda Superbike race kicking off around 3 o'clock local time. It's what, an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes before that race. We got one in between. That would be the Super Sport. Congratulations from the stash. Gilbert, 2nd place finish. Starts the year with a win, finishes the year with a 2nd. I think I'd be pleased if I were Michael Gilbert with that effort today. I mean, he pushed hard. He was in there at the start.
Especially having a crash in the warm-up this morning, the 2nd qualifier before going into the race.
Let's take a look at our full results for the final race of the season in Stock 1000, brought to you by Geico Motorcycles. It was a 3-second advantage over Gilbert and Wyman. Look at that, only 4/10 at the end over Ashton Yates, Corey Alexander, Denny Eslick. So he crashes, picks it up, and still finishes 6th. A strong run for him. Stefano Macy on that Aprilia RSV that we may see next year in Stock 1000 trim, ahead of Joe Giannotto, Alan Phillips, as they pull over towards our victory podium. Jason Wygand down there to greet the riders. And once again, Jake Lewis does it for Altus Motorsports, and he's got to go grab some Pedialyte, something to, and that's one good thing with the cloud cover. At least it wasn't a hot, wet, muggy, rainy race. We can say this in the air-conditioned comfort of our studio here. They're already talking about the track drying too, Raj. You heard them.
And he's just preparing for the Superbike race already.
Yeah, what do I do? What do you think? It's not like MotoGP where you can go in and have another bike ready, hop on, hop back off. They are on that bike, and there's Cam Peterson.
There's probably going to be a lot of guys coming up to Jake after this race and asking him about the track and just trying to pick up a couple notes going into the Superbike race.
Yeah, here's where you don't want to burn any bridges. These are where your buddies can really help you, and Cam getting the word there as well. Cam winning on that bike last year. Travis Wyman, please. And you know, we have said it multiple times how I don't know why Motul didn't jump on board Laguna Seca when he made that last second pass for victory. But they were on for the finishing part of this season, and he delivers a 2nd in the championship as well as another podium finish on that Motul BMW.
He looked really good toward the end of that race with the fastest lap. So for him, he's another guy doing the Superbike Cup, going to know the track headed into this afternoon.